Hey folks, hope you're doing well wherever you are. Thank you for joining Goliath and I while we go flying. It's been a long time since we've had a chance to just go out and fly for the heck of it. And today's the day. So we're going to go flying to Jefferson County and get some breakfast at a restaurant called Spruce Goose. As you can see, it was a beautiful day to be out flying. Winds just out of the northwest at about 7 knots, 5 knots most of the Puget Sound area. Just a glorious day to be out flying. A lot of folks are out flying today, but we got to be out enjoying flying instead of doing testing, which we've been doing way too much of lately. Jefferson County, over at where Spruce Goose is located, Jefferson County Airport is about 29 miles flying direct from Skagit, our home field. And we decided that we'd add a little bit of distance to it to just make it a little bit longer flight, a little more fun. And it's such a pretty day that we wanted to get out and enjoy everything that was out there. So we decided we'd go ahead and turn towards Payne Field to the south, and that added another 10 or 15 minutes to the flight, just to enjoy seeing Puget Sound from the air. So turning out to the south here to Payne Field, decided to climb up to above 3,000 feet because all of the bug smashers were going to be out there, and you can see the track here on the map that just popped up. So we added a little bit of distance, stay out of the bug smashers' way. We listened to radio's Whidbey approach on 120.7 to make sure that we knew what was going on around us. Again, a lot of VFR traffic out in this area. This is the best day we've had this year, so expected a lot of people to be out there, and I was right. And yes, as you can see, I still use paper charts. The batteries never run out on them, and I like marking on them and writing on them if I need to. Old school just never gets old with me. So if you look out to the lower right, you can see probably a lot of the traffic on the water. Couldn't really see the other airplanes, although there were plenty of them out there, and Whidbey approach was calling airplanes the whole time we were flying. There was traffic all around us, but most of it was below us, 2,500 feet and below. But there were a lot of boats out on the water as well. It was just a glorious day. And as you can see here, the engine's turning at 3,100, maps 22.5, and we're turning 125 knots. And the plane is just really comfortable flying this with this new propeller. So we're just kind of loafing along, having a great time. As we go over here and look at the moving map, Payne Field is just above us there on the map. It's Class D airspace, so we're over 3,100 feet, so we could fly over them. I went ahead and decided to go ahead and turn before that, just because I didn't want to go overhead the field with as busy as it was. And out to the right wing here, you can see just under those clouds, that's where we're going. That's where Jefferson County is. So you can see it's just gorgeous on Puget Sound, and we've gotten about 5 miles away from Payne Field, and it's time to turn right and go get breakfast. One of the things with the KR-2, which is what Goliath was originally designed on, is that they're very sensitive in pitch and roll. It's a challenging aircraft to fly, and definitely something that you need to fly hands-on. But when you get it properly trimmed up, as you can see, I've got both hands off the controls, and she's holding my turn just fine and holding altitude just fine. So it's a testimony to the aircraft, to the quality of the design, that even with as sensitive as the plane is, it can do that. As you can see in this next little bit, I did a little bit of winging over. There's supposed to be an airfield. Whidbey Airport is supposed to be below me somewhere, and I flew over it once many years ago, but it's in a cut of trees, and I looked for it today, even knowing that it was right beneath me. It had to be really close, and I couldn't find it. I don't know if I could find it if there was ever an emergency. I'd probably have to pick a road down there, but I did look for it and never did find it. And here we are a few minutes later. We're coming into Jefferson County. Jefferson County is out to the right. I'm going to start my turn-in tour here momentarily. I decided to go ahead and fly over the field. There were numerous people talking on the radio, all coming into JEFCO. Again, it's a pretty popular place to eat, so I went ahead and flew over the field at pattern altitude at 1,100 feet, just so I could make sure I knew where everyone was. Turned out that there wasn't anyone within a couple of miles of the field, although a guy in a Cessna came in and landed right after I did. But there were planes coming and going the entire time I was in flight and on the ground eating. So it was a pretty fun place to be, just to sit back and watch airplanes and listen to people talking about where they'd been, where they were going. Here we are turning onto final. JEFCO is just over my helmet there. It's a 3,000 foot runway, 75 feet wide. It's a well-maintained place. It's at the foothills of the Olympic Mountains on the Olympic Peninsula, and it's absolutely gorgeous. The views just the cameras just don't pick up as well, as incredible as the view was. It was just absolutely gorgeous. Winds coming out of the north over the hills kind of make the approach a little bit more work than someplace on the flatlands, but overall it was really controllable and not a bad place to go. I kept a little bit of speed on, and because I touched down a bit long, it's been a long time since I've been to this field, I went ahead and let the airplane roll out to the end of the runway. Most people honestly come in here, land, and they taxi off at the 1,500 foot point, but I decided to just go ahead and run her all the way down to the end. Here we are. Spruce Goose is right in front of the nose of the airplane here. Taxi right up, park right by the grass. There's a diamond right in front of me. Right after I got here, a number of other aircraft came in. There was a Cessna that was on 2 mile final as I was getting off the runway. He came up as I was shutting down. You can see him in the left-hand corner there, taxiing up the hill. The parking here is on a little bit of an incline. So he's coming up as I'm shutting down. Again, lots of people coming and going. It was just really a neat place to go. Lots of airplanes. A couple of helicopters came in while I was there as well. And there were trucks. The trucks were everywhere. There were people driving up and down the taxiways constantly. Not dangerous, just they were constantly there. It's kind of interesting. Next time I'll get some pictures of the food, because the food was fantastic. Lots of it was really good, and again, the service is fantastic. Here's heading back. You'll see a map here in a second, going back towards Skagit from Port Townsend. Decided to make a short jaunt to the left by Fort Eby, which is going to come up under the nose here by the cliffs on Whidbey Island. Another gorgeous place to go hang out. Since it's not too far from my house, I decided to fly by it low, wave to the folks on the fort, and then overfly the house on the way back to home plate at Skagit. Now, this is under Class C airspace with Whidbey approach for NAS Whidbey, home of the P-8 Poseidon and the EF-18 Growler for the Navy. And so I was talking with folks on the radio for that, mostly just letting them know I was there since I was going to be in their airspace, but not really needing to talk to them other than the fact I was in the Class C. Normally in this area you can fly all around and get not have to worry about having to talk to anybody. I like to talk to folks even when I'm not in the Class C, just because I prefer to know where everyone else is around me. These cliffs are a pretty interesting place to beachcomb too. If you're ever up on Whidbey Island, right here along the cliffs on the most western part of the islands, what you find is you know, not a lot of folks get down there and hike around, and there's all kinds of interesting stuff that you can find. One time I was walking my dog down there, and we literally almost stepped on a seal pup. It blended in with the rocks so clearly that my dog almost stepped on it before it, opened its mouth, and we recognized that it wasn't a rock. But all kinds of interesting stuff out here. And of course, Fort Eby is, in its own right, is a historical site and a pretty neat place to go hike around. And lots of trails there. Lots of folks are out there hiking around, mountain biking. Folks do horseback riding up in those trails as well. Lots of things to do there if you're an outdoors types person. And here's the home neighborhood. If I'm going to fly by here, got to fly by the house. Got to fly over the house and bother the neighbors. Figuratively speaking, of course. And climbing back out and talking to Whidbey Approach. They were busy pretty much all day deconflicting VFR traffic. I picked my route. Kind of stay out of their hair and mostly stay high, mostly stay where I knew from experience other folks weren't going to be flying. And it worked out really well. This is coming back to Skagit now. I'm getting ready to make my my left-hand turn to final. The road there is my my mark point. Once it hits the wingtip or hits the wing line, it's time to start making my turn. Come back in for final. Skagit is also a great place to fly in and out of, and it's got its own good restaurant there, Flyers, which has been under different groups of management, but right now is owned by some folks that are doing a great job. And I go over there and eat on a pretty regular basis. If you're up here and you want another place to go that to add to your repertoire, Flyers is not a bad place to go at Skagit either. And Skagit tends to be a lot quieter airport. Arlington, which is 22 miles to the south, is busy beyond belief. It's the home of RV land. Everybody that owns an RV seems to have a hangar down there. There are 700 plus aircraft, I think, at that airfield. There are only a couple hundred here at Skagit, so it's a big runway. It's almost 5,500 feet long. And for the longest runway, and the other one is 3,000 feet. It's a great place to fly into. It's quiet. Definitely night flying, like flying into Arlington. Arlington is probably akin to flying in New York. Flying around downtown, it's busy. So if you want to go to Arlington, if you want a challenge and you want to be looking out for all kinds of other people who may or may not be talking on the radio, have at it. I go down there from time to time just for the challenge, but I really like my own airfield. It's nice, it's big, it's quiet. It's a good place to be home ported. Well, as we taxi off the runway here, folks, thanks for coming and flying with us. It was a great day. It was an awesome day to see Puget Sound. And great breakfast, great opportunity to talk to some folks and see some airplanes. A little bit later on, one of the guys, after we landed here, about a half hour later, a guy came by that we had seen over at JEFCO and stopped by and just talked with us for about 45 minutes. That was pretty neat. So we're heading back to the hangar here. Get a chance to go by this black jet. It's not uncommon to see these out here at Skagit. That's about all I have to say about that. Folks, as we taxi back to the hangar, thanks for going flying with us today. It was great to be out there and seeing all the neat things around here. I hope you get a chance to get out and fly on your own. And if not, come on back and fly with us. We'd be happy to have you along, and we'll look forward to showing you other things that are going on here in the Pacific Northwest and places to go, things to see. Take care. Have a good one.